Hi guys, sorry about the lighting. It's really dark here today, and also you may see a squillion videos uploaded in one hit, and that's not because I've become some crazy video lady. It's just because our internet has been down for 2 days. If you're in Australia, you know, we're going through the NBN rollout, the National Broadband Network rollout, and yeah, it's been a pretty poor rollout, so there's a lot of problems with it. Anyway, a technician's coming out in the next day or two, so I've got this whole little pile of videos banked up ready to go, and I'll try not to load them all at once, but just in case you see a bunch of videos, yeah, I wasn't a crazy video lady standing there all day filming. It was just over 2 or 3 days. So this is a little paper kit that I've done with a sewing theme. Actually, when I say sewing, it's sewing, knitting, embroidery, crochet, that sort of whole area. And it's just a little mini paper pack. And what I had in mind was, I noticed when I joined a few Facebook groups recently that there's a lot of new people starting out in junk journaling, and they don't have a lot of stuff to get started. And I know it can be costly to go out and buy ephemera, especially vintage, which is what we all kind of seem to love. And so I just had in mind some really small, really lowly priced, you know, reasonably priced paper packs. So if you wanted to do a theme-based journal, something like, you know, sewing or ballerinas or fairies or whatever it may be, you could get started without having to go and buy a lot of stuff. And if you are new to junk journaling, you'll find that it takes a while to build up a big stash, you know, unless you go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff, which can be costly. So, like, just take your time, pick up papers here, there and everywhere, you know, junk mail, op shops, friends and family will give you stuff if they know, you know, what kind of stuff you're interested in. And look, before you know it, you'll have a little craft room or craft space that's absolutely overflowing like mine. I mean, there is one thing I've got a lot of, and that is papers. So I'm happy to share them, get rid of some. If you look at my little Etsy shop, I do make everything really, you know, priced really low, because it's something that I think it can be expensive if you do go out and buy stuff. And I don't think you need to go and buy a lot of new stuff, to be honest. Just start off with, you know, little baby kits like this, go to op shops, that sort of stuff. I think that's the easiest way to get started in junk journaling. I wouldn't go looking on eBay for, you know, big boxes of ephemera and all that. You'll just end up paying a lot of money. But anyway, so this is a little teeny mini one. This pack, I think it is all vintage, 60s, 70s and 80s. I don't know the dates of every little paper, because once you pull papers out of a lot of books and magazines, you tend to forget, you know, what's what, but you can probably tell by looking at them yourself. So this one's just out of a pattern, little pattern pack, and that folds out quite large. And this hasn't been tea or coffee dyed, that's the natural aging. It's out of a little crochet book. Can you see? Oh, in all three of the little packs, I've put a vintage dictionary page, and wherever I could for all the papers, I've made them a double page fold out, wherever I could, just so that it's easier for you to sew into the signatures. I've also made the dictionary pages, you know, consistent with the theme. So I think I've got one that has sewing, you know, sewing, sewn, sewed. The other one is, what did I put? Knitting, actually knitting, and I think the other one is embroidery. The only thing, this one, okay, where it's got sewing, right below that is sex. So I'm sorry, but if that offends you, if you are purchasing one of the little packs, just put a note in the comment box at checkout, and I'll swap that out for you. Yeah, it's right below the word sewing as well. So I think Shannon Green would get a kick out of that. This little page, it looks really old, but it's actually only from, this is one that has the date on it. It's from the Australian Woman's Weekly magazine, September 16, 1970. So even though it's only from the 70s, it looks so much older than it is because it's just so thin and worn. Look at the edges, all kind of fluffy at the edges, but there is one of these old pages in each pack, but just know they're all ripped and taped together and yellowed, and they're really beaten up, but look how gorgeous that is. So I don't know, you'll find a use for it anyway. Look at that little baby. Okay, this is some of the tissue paper out of the patterns, and this is really good for decoupage and collaging and that sort of stuff. And also wrapping paper if you wrap gifts, if you do racks or swaps or anything. This was a page out of a little book that was falling apart. It was all taped up, and the tape is all brown and yellow. You could probably pull, oh, actually you can pull it off. It was all browned and yellow and falling apart, but I think it adds to the character of the old pages when it's got old, you know, old tapes and writing and stuff like that. Look at the vest on this kid. Oh my God, if I had to put my son in a tie and a vest at that age, he would not have left the house. There's a little page out of a crochet book as well. Look at this one. This is so 80s, is it? Or late 70s, I don't know, but the price was 45 cents on it, so look at her hair. And the collar on that cardigan. This was out of a little book. It only had like 3 or 4 pages, you know, and someone had hole punched them in a little folder. So I've put one in each book. They're all got different images though. You can tell they're old as well just by the fonts. Like, look at the font that they've used. It's out of a knitting. This is out of a magazine. It looks 80s to me. You can tell. Look at the blue eyeshadow and eyeliner. And the hair. Oh, I've got a whole bunch of the sewing pattern envelopes as well, but they're all really beaten up. Like that. But you'll find a use for it. You can even cut the image out to put on the front of sewing journals, or reinforce them, you know, stick them onto cardboard. Well, not cardboard, you know, thicker paper or something. Unfortunately, they all had these red X's there. I don't know what that was from though. This was from an old magazine. This has got, oh, it doesn't have the date. But look at this guy's vest. This guy, he's got a knitted woolen vest. And the little kids, the whole family's got these little matching vests. Look at that. Look at his haircut. Oh my god, it's so daggy. Sorry, I really get a kick looking at these old, a kick out of looking at the old pictures. This is probably 80s as well, because anyone remember the suit jackets? They all had these big shoulder pads in them. That's out of, this feels like butcher paper, this one. I think it's out of some pattern as well. This is out of an embroidery little booklet that was falling apart. So I couldn't do double pages because it was literally ripped apart. And but I thought I'll pop it in anyway. It's really good to cut the little images out, like in floral books. Look at this one. Oh my goodness. This, I don't know. I'm really bad with years, but I don't know. Is this like late 70s or, I don't know, late 60s, 70s? But look at the hair. Looks like a wig. Look at that. Look at that top. That's a pretty wide page, that. It's like wider than your normal page. Some paper out of a pattern. Some pages out of an embroidery book. The embroidery books, if you ever come across any, they're really good to pick up at op shops because they've got beautiful images in them. Like, they're really good for, they always have floral images for some reason, and they're really good for you know, botanical and floral type theme books. But I've got a lot of respect for people that can do embroidery and have the patience to sit down and do that. It's so time consuming. I do a little bit of this and that, like a little bit of crocheting, a little bit of sewing, a little bit of knitting, but master of none. Oh, these are both books out of, sorry, pages out of the same book, and they're really thick. Looks like that was embroidering as well. Look at that little image, the little girl. Isn't that cute? Oh, this was a little, it wasn't a book, it was kind of like a folder that had all these little sections, like, you know, 1, 2, 3, right through to 20 or 30 or something. And each one had a little, well, it's called sewing hints, but this one was the making of pleats. And it was quite interesting, actually. They all have that same picture of the front. So each little pack has that exact one, but it's a different section for the same image. And that opens out. It's a little trifold. That's quite thick as well. And this is just another pattern, but one of the larger packets. So I've just left the whole thing intact as it is. And there's one of the pattern pages in it. So these open up really, really super big. So you can just cut each page to make pages for your journal, because they're all blank on the back. So I'll just leave that in there. Okay, so that's it. So they're 3 little mini packs that I've put together. And those will be in my Etsy shop sometime, I don't know, today or tomorrow, whenever my internet is finally fixed. And I'll be doing some other little packs. I'll just do 2 or 3 of each, so that there's a big variety there. So I've got some sewing, and I've got a lot of other themes that I think are quite common as well, and some that are not so common, that I'll be putting in over the next few days. Anyway, that's it. Thank you. Bye.